Good morning, Chicago Cubs fans. We are back with another edition of Cubs Daily. My name is Steven Ryan. We are heading into the middle of November. We just had our first big free agent re-signing. We will discuss that very briefly as we continue to discuss how the Cubs can continue to improve their team for 2026. We'll get into that, where I talk about the Japanese pitcher Tatsuya Imai and a maybe a little less known possible Cubs player. Now, he wasn't a former Cub, but a guy maybe the Cubs would feel could be a perfect fit for this team. And then we're going to discuss the San Diego Padres, as their ownership has decided that they want to seek avenues for a potential sale, and we'll talk about how that could impact the Cubs down the road. But before we get into all that, I just want to give everyone a big thank you for continuing to show support to the channel, continuing to share the video, like the video, watch the video, and subscribing to the channel. If you guys are new, hit that thumbs up button. It is a free way to support the channel and subscribe. So let's hop on into it. My first discussion point here on this episode of Cubs Daily is, how do we fill the void? We know that Jed and we know that Carter have hammered home the point that they're going to be bigger players in the free agent pitching market, right? The likes of Framber Valdez, Dylan Cease, Tatsuya Imai, who we're going to discuss here in a few minutes as well. But we also know as fans we are still missing a void. And I think deep down, Jed and Carter feel the same way. I'm just curious as to how the Cubs are going to go about it. Again, if they go about it, that is also a big question in this sense, right? We know as fans that they are not likely to splurge on a major free agent. If you read the comment section of this video and other videos, we don't do anything ever. So, but somehow we won 92 games, so I'll let that leave that where that be. But how do the Cubs fill that void, right? We've talked about the big bats coming this offseason. Kyle Tucker, the Cubs contact, Cubs and Kyle Tucker's camp did make contact at the GM meeting. The Cubs are gonna. I think the Cubs are going to make an offer. It's just not going to be anywhere near the ballpark of what Kyle Tucker's going to want. So we're kind of just anticipating that he's going to be no longer with the Cubs organization anymore. It was a good year. Obviously, it shows that when we have a special talent in the lineup, that this offense can go to that next level. So how do we replace Kyle Tucker? That is the real question. We've had that free agent list with Bob Nightingale, where I've gone over a couple of names like Tatis Jr., like Ketel Marte, and so on and so forth. The free agents are Bo Bichette, Kyle Schwarber, Cody Bellinger. Could he come back to the team? Eugenio Suarez is a free agent as well. These are all solid options. Obviously, the Cubs are not going to sign every single one of these guys, but what do we do this season so that we can have the best chance in 2026 to win it all? But we also know that 2027, there's a lockout looming. So I'm sure the Cubs are not necessarily going to want to heavily invest in a player, especially if they're going to be missing a season. Now, I don't know how that all works in terms of the contracts once there is a lockout. I don't know if the players still get paid or, they hold on suspension of pay. If someone knows that, please drop it down in the comment section. I'm happy to learn about that. But, we have to get that solved, and then maybe the financials will resolve themselves in that sense. But my prediction is the Cubs are going to fill this bat void by making a trade. I don't know who they're going to get. Obviously, I've pitched the names of Fernando Tatis Jr. I think Ketel Marte is really the perfect fit for the Cubs in terms of what he's got left on his contract, what his AAV is on his contract, compared to the production that he gives. I really think that's kind of the sweet money spot that I think the Cubs are willing to pay you $20 to $30 million a year. It's, how long are we going to get that specific deal for? They don't really ever want to get locked into those super long-term deals because 9 times out of 10, ladies and gentlemen, the 10-year, $360, $390, $400 million deals, those don't really work out that well. Obviously, we know names like Albert Pujols. He fell off on that contract. Joey Votto was solid for the first portion of it, but kind of fell off towards the end, so on and so forth. But the bigger move seems to be getting these younger guys. So I think the Cubs, if they were going to offer the first $200 million deal in team history. I think it's going to go to PCA. I think they're going to offer him a 10-year, $280 million deal and see if he accepts that. But PCA, he's on this team. We know he's on this team for a long time. How do we complement PCA? How do we help him out with more support in the lineup? That's the great question. I think it's going to come from a trade. I don't think we're going to be signing the only bat that I would imagine that we sign is Kyle Schwarber. But does he want to come back to Wrigley? I don't know. He might go back to Philly for all we know. I think he loves it there. Obviously, he's grown with that team as well and might want to take one more crack at it over in Philadelphia. But I think if the Cubs are going to acquire a bat, not saying they're going to, if they are, it's going to be via a trade and probably via a player we are not expecting either. You never know when camps sour or who's available and who's not available. We all just have speculation, right? We all kind of just see how things are going. But that kind of leads to the bottom part of the video when we get to that Padres sale, right? Could the new owners be looking to get rid of some salary? Could they be looking to get rid of Fernando Tatis Jr.? That is the real question. I doubt it. But again, that's why we discuss the hypotheticals, right? It's early off season in baseball, and we're here to talk fun. Now, let's talk about Mr. Tatsuya Imai for the Chicago Cubs. I've talked about it earlier, and I was thinking, I'm not sure if the Cubs are necessarily going to want to splurge a big deal on a guy that's not necessarily proven. But if all of the peripherals check out, they like all the things, then maybe, just maybe, they will. I have this tweet actually pulled up here from Bruce Levine. He says, I don't think the Cubs would be afraid to make a huge investment in Tatsuya Imai. And that's great to hear. And, he posted a 1.92 ERA over 163 innings. Again, though, this is Japanese baseball. It's not necessarily going to translate. Could it? Yes. Again, a common thing I do see is that rookie year, you have a lot of success. Just like Shota Imanaga. But then, in that second season, it could all go awry. They could get figured out. Again, Shota got hurt. I'm curious to watch how he plays next year. Maybe he gets back to his old self, and I'm less the wiser, as they like to say. But he will be posted, I believe, on November 19th. That will start that 30-day window. Here are the top 10 landing spots, according to BR Zach Reimer. Cubs are 6th on that list. Again, this is where the Cubs might have an advantage. Jed Hoyer also believes the Cubs have this advantage. They were able to sign Yu Darvish. And when they signed Seiya Suzuki, Yu Darvish being here really helped Seiya feel comfortable coming to the Cubs, developing that culture of Japanese players, right? We've gotten Kosuke Fukudome on the team before. So again, this is really just, obviously the West Coast teams are going to have a nice, benefit because they're closer to Japan, but having this, infusion of Japanese talent could help recruit future players down the road. Again, I know we didn't get Shohei Ohtani, but could we get Tatsuya Imai? Could we add that other utility player? These are the questions hopefully we're going to get answered here this offseason. Now, Tatsuya Imai, the sense is just starting to begin and grow with me that we're going to be major players in this one for him. I think he's a hell of a player. I think he's really done a fantastic job. Obviously he dominates Japan, which is a great sign. I don't know how that's going to translate, though, over to the big leagues. I'm kind of nervous, but either way, if the Cubs do make it, let's say he agrees to a deal with the Cubs. If the Cubs make a huge investment in him, then I have full confidence that this scouting department and this front office did their due diligence and that he is going to be everything that this team needs. Now, again, they could sign him to an 8-year deal, right? And they could throw in team club options like they did for Shota, right? Just in case something like what happened to Shota happens. There's ways around things, but if they're going to make the commitment, if you think he's going to be a true number one ace, pair him alongside Cade Horton, then this is the man you need to go and get. I'm not sure if we're going to do it, but we shall see. Now, here is another player that honestly is probably much more along the lines for you Cubs fans Mr. Cody Ponce, okay? Now, Cody Ponce did play Major League Baseball in 2021, okay? He played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He did not have his best season. Obviously, he was a very, very young player, but last season he pitched in the KBO, and he was dominant. It feels like they figured out something with his mechanics, and he did very well. Not just good, a dominant level, which is what you like to see, right? 180 innings pitched, 36% strikeout rate, 5.9% walk, 1.89 ERA. Again, it's KBO. You don't want to look too much into it, but give him the Colin Ray deal. Give him the Colin Ray deal. He could be an ancillary, long-term relief option. Maybe he's a really good 6th, 7th inning guy when you have a 1-run lead or you're down 3. Something like someone who can just eat innings. That is what you are going to need in this bullpen as we try to re-amplify it as we get into things. So he's going to be a very team-friendly option in terms of cost. I can only imagine he has to prove it still on the big league level. Now, will he? That is an absolutely fantastic question that we are going to have to wait to find out. He played in the KBO the past few seasons, but he seems to be figuring it out. Last year, he was 17-1 with a 1.89 ERA and 100 innings pitch. That is nuts. That is a fantastic record. I really don't look into win-loss all too much, but the one positive thing about win-loss is your team's winning. Like, you know the team's result because of your start, right? If you're 17-1, that means bare minimum that team wins 17-1 in your games. That is really, really good. So, could Cody Ponce be an interesting option? Absolutely. Would he be the perfect Cub instead in the terms of bargain hunting? Yes. If he pans out, we will see if the Cubs have any interest in him whatsoever. Now, let's round down here to this one, okay? So, a tweet came out a couple days ago that the San Diego Padres owners are looking in to, here we go. This is what I wanted to see. Here we go, right here. Looking into a potential sale, okay? The Cedar family today announced that it has decided to initiate a formal process to explore strategic options for the San Diego Padres, including a potential sale of the franchise. This decision follows months of careful consideration and consultation with trusted advisors. John Cedar, the chairman of the Padres, said the family has decided to begin a process of evaluating our future with the Padres, including a potential sale. We will undertake this process with integrity and professionalism in a way that honors Peter's legacy and love for the Padre and lays the foundation for the long-term success. During the process, as we prepare for the 2026 season, the Padres will continue to focus on its players, employees, fans, and community while putting every resource into winning a World Series championship. We remain fully committed to this team, its fans, and the San Diego community. The club has engaged BDT and MSD Partners, a trusted advisor to families and founder-led businesses, to guide this process. The firm will oversee the process to ensure that it is conducted in a disciplined and professional manner. The Seidler family and the Padres do not intend to comment further until the process has concluded. Now, this doesn't mean they are selling it, but it feels like they are. You know what I'm saying? And they don't want to deal with this lockout. They don't want to deal with the ups and downs of it, right? I don't think the Padres are losing money. Like, that seems a little bit too ridiculous. But be real. Come on. We see how they spend. We see how they spend their prospects. I feel like the Seidler family has, they felt like they've hit a ceiling, Like, there's not much more they can do. Not that this Padres team was going to put them over the top in the World Series, but maybe they just feel like kind of the ceiling's been hit, and there's not much more they can add to the table on that front. Now, how does this relate to the Cubs? Well, if the Seidler family does sell the Padres, I'm not sure how that new owner's going to operate, right? Every ownership group is different. If you talk to the Cubs fans, Tom Ricketts is a money-greedy pig that only wants to break even. Sure, you have your arguments for that one, okay? But does this new owner want to win baseball games, or does he just want to make money? right? Does he want to cut salary, cut payroll? How do you cut payroll? You're going to have to trade some of these players, okay? And the Padres have a myriad of players, okay? Let's take a look here at their 2026 payroll table. I'm bringing it to you right now, right? Xander Bogaerts, $25 million. From Andy Machado, $25 million. Fernando Tatis, $20 million. Nick Pivetta, $20 million. Joe Musgrove, $20 million. Yu Darvish, out for the year, $16 million. Jake Cronenworth, $12 million, okay? They have a good amount of money in payroll. If they're going to trade or if they're going to sell this team, someone might be on the move. I don't know if Machado and Bogarts are too expensive or too old, but I'm telling you, this is the guy I'm keeping my eye on. Fernando Tatis Jr., a guy I would love to have on my baseball team. Sure, you can talk to me all about the problems, that whole 9 yards. I know, 14 years, $340 million. But again, this guy is locked in till 2035. 2035 is when he will become a free agent at 36 years old. You are going to get him for a healthy amount of his prime. 5-6 years of his prime at $25 million a piece. Yes, towards the end it gets a little bit more expensive, but again, this is where the Cubs, they're not going to. I know it's too expensive of a deal, but that's that middle point, right? Get a superstar and let that lineup around him eat. Michael Busch will benefit. Seiya will benefit. PCA will definitely be. Your big three batters, because right next year when we're talking, we know Nico's going to be gone. We know, we don't know Nico's going to be gone, but Nico's going to be a free agent. Ian Happ's going to be a free agent. Seiya's going to be a free agent. If you're telling me in 2 years our big three bats are Fernando Tatis Jr., Pete Crow Armstrong, and Michael Busch, I like that big three, and we will figure out a way to fill in the parts around him with Dansby Swanson and Miguel Amaya and Owen Casey and Matt Shaw, so on and so forth. Maybe re-sign Nico to a deal. This is a real possibility that the Cubs need to strongly consider, in my opinion. Again, there's too much time, there's too much thought going on in that sense. I know. It's a long shot, ladies and gentlemen. They're not going to get Fernando Tatis Jr. You do not have to comment it. If you're commenting it, I know you just want to help the algorithm, and that's fine. That's fine. I appreciate it, but we know it's not going to happen. But where there's smoke, there's fire in the sense, and if the Padres want to sell the team, that new ownership group might not want to be dealing with this, and they might want to start clean, right? And they might trade all these guys. If you trade Machado, Bogaerts, and Fernando Tatis Jr., you will replenish your farm system immediately. And it's not a bad route. It's not a bad idea by any means. So that is going to do it for today's edition of Cubs Daily. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic rest of your Monday. I will be back tomorrow with another one. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you are new, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to 1K. I hope you all have a great day. We'll talk soon.